So I'm going to call this meeting of the Greenfield Zoning Board of Appeals to order on Thursday, January 14th, 2021 at 7 p.m. And I got to read something here. This meeting is being recorded. If any other persons present are doing the same, you must notify the chairperson. That's me at this time. Anybody else recording? Okay. So, call order. Yeah, I'm going to note for the record that Jim Lynn is present, Peter Wozniak's present, David Singer's present, Debbie Jokes is present, Walter Boyd is present, I'm present. I don't see Julius. I'm not sure. Anyway, she may show up a little bit later. Who knows? Okay, so first off, let me read this. I'm hoping everyone can hear it. It's a email from Keith Leslie at Trinity Solar Systems to the planning office. Good morning. As per discussion with the customer, this project is no longer moving forward as a new ground-mounted system, but instead as a roof-mounted system on the existing house. I have attached a copy of the design for the system demonstrating the new location, et cetera, et cetera. So they're requesting to be allowed to withdraw without prejudice, which would obviate the need for a public hearing. Somebody want to make that motion to allow Trinity Solar to withdraw their application without prejudice?
So moved.
Okay. Actually, I think Jim got in there first. David seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed by the same sign? Okay. So we'll let them know that's all set. As we all know, in Greenfield, roof-mounted solar applications are by right, so they don't need to go through the permitting or the special permit process. Now we have to wait 15 minutes for the next public hearing. And the reason we have to wait 15 minutes is the next public hearing is scheduled for 7:15 on the application of 15 Arch Street LLC. So we cannot begin before the published time. However, board members, not all is lost. We can do the minutes from December.
Chairman, I make a motion to accept the minutes of the December 10th meeting as read.
Second.
Written. Yep.
Okay. Walter, did you second?
I did.
Okay. So motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion needed? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oh, crud. No, can't do it that way.
I was saying, don't we have to do a roll call?
Yes, we do. And the roll call we're going to do is just go by whoever I see on here. So, motion's been made, seconded. All those in favor, we'll do a roll call vote. Mark Maloney's an aye. Jim Wynn,
Aye.
David Singer,
Aye.
Debbie Jelks,
Aye.
Walter Boyd,
Yes.
and Peter Wozniak. Okay. All right, great. Now, if everybody wants to take a break, you can do that. However,
Oh, thank you. Sorry.
the applicants for 15 Arch Street, if they're on with us, and I know that at least one of them is. Mr. Haddon, you want to unmute and I can explain the process so that when we open up, we can get right into it?
Certainly.
Where are you? Oh, there you are.
I'm here.
Yeah, Okay, so when we get to 7:15, what we'll do is the clerk will read the notice of hearing. Then what I will do is introduce the members of the board sitting. You'll introduce yourself. And basically you'll tell us what you want to do, where you want to do it, and why you want to do it. From time to time, the members of the board may have questions. At a certain point, after we've gathered a certain amount of information, we will open it up to public hearing, or comment, sorry. Once the public comment is done, then we'll close the public comment portion. The board may have more questions And then at that point, we will take it under consideration. The board will discuss and render a decision. Most likely, because one of our things tonight is gone, I'm sure we will make a decision tonight. From the time, once the board has made a decision, whatever it is, it will be typed and filed with the city clerk. From the time it's filed with the city clerk, there is a 20-day appeal period in which anybody who feels aggrieved by the actions of the board may appeal to a higher authority. That would be land court or superior court. If at the end of the 20-day appeal period, there are no appeals or the appeals have been settled, then you can go ahead and do whatever you want in terms of what we say you can do. Okay? You get all that?
I
You all
did. Thank
for that? Okay. And of course, yeah, you'll talk to Eric before then anyway, so no worries. But we do have to wait until 7:15. So we're going to take a recess until 7:15. Okay. So
you very
members of the board, go do whatever you want. You got 10 minutes. Be back. Eric, can you mute?
Hey, Mark, your microphone is very distorted.
Don't know what I can do about it. It's a built-in to the laptop here, so I could turn the volume up maybe. I don't know.
No.
I could get closer. Somebody's renting cheaper. That or they're eating potato chips. So Eric, are you looking for me? Yeah. It's December.
Oh,
Okay. We'll get started back in another minute. Make sure all of our people are here. Deb? Where's Deb? Eric, can you see Debbie? Oh, there she is. Never mind.
Yes, I can.
Okay. All right. Jim, do you have the notice of hearing?
I do.
Okay.
You ready?
Yeah, okay. So the zoning board of appeals will resume from recess now at 7:14. So yeah, Jim, go ahead and read the notice of hearing.
7:15 p.m. Application of 15 Arch Street LLC. John Hayden for property located at 15 Arch Street, Assessors Map 69, Lot 74, which is located in the General Industry GI Zoning District for a special permit pursuant to Section 200-411C, 16, 200-7, 200.17, 200-8.3, and 208.4 of the zoning ordinance in order to allow for a marijuana cultivator business at this location.
Okay, and the members of the board sitting are Mark Maloney, Jim Wynn, Peter Wozniak, David Singer, Debbie Jilks. And you are Mr. Haddon?
Yes, that's correct. John Haddon.
Oh, there he is. Okay, all right. So go ahead and tell us what you want to do and so forth.
Thank you very much.
Hold on one second. By the way, the board will take judicial notice that the security plan has been approved by the chief of police of Greenfield. And that's all I need to say about that. Okay, so go ahead.
Thank you. Yes, members of the board. We are a small company. It's 4 partners that are all Massachusetts residents. Myself, Dan Sullivan, Joshua Levin, and Sam Carpentieri are the general partners and will be the operators of the business. We have received a provisional license from the Cannabis Control Commission of Massachusetts to operate a Tier 1 cannabis cultivation facility, which means that we are wholesalers. We would sell to retail stores or to product manufacturers who would then turn it into a resin or an oil to be used in some sort of edible or other product. We would therefore only have ourselves and any employees in the building, and just whatever deliveries and pickups would be necessary. We're right now anticipating about 1 to 2 deliveries per week, more at the beginning, but once we're operating, just a few a week, and then pickups once a month or once every 2 months. So hopefully not too much traffic at all. We're all Massachusetts residents. Myself, I live closer to Boston, but I met the other 3 partners who are residents and of the Western Massachusetts, Dan in Buckland, Sam in Ashfield, and Josh in Greenfield. And I met them through providing legal services essentially for their attempts to create a business. I come from the legal background. Josh and Sam come from carpenter and contracting backgrounds, and Josh from the communications and technology background. We've now been working at this business. We formed our company in December of 2018. We had a very long process waiting for our license approval from the state. And we've been very lucky to find a cooperative partner in the owner of the Arch Street building, who's allowed us to basically have a hold on the space while we waited for our approval. The building itself needs some work, but we hope to, as part of this project, to improve the building both on the interior and the exterior. Our goal is to create a small business that's focused mainly on quality, responsible and sustainable practices, that really focuses on the local community and spends a lot of time trying to give back to that community. We've contracted with many local vendors, and we've also contacted the Greenfield Community College in order to try to create some sort of program to give back in a way, by helping to teach sort of what we know and what we're learning through this process to future generations. With me today, I have my 3 partners, Dan, Josh, and Sam, and also we have Tony Wenceski, who's our civil engineer, Eric Gath, who is our engineer from BLW Engineers. They're doing our MEP, and we have Jesse Moberg, who is our architect. At this point in time, I was going to turn it over to Eric to give you a sense of the engineering. And if you have any specific questions, of course, Jesse and Tony would be able to answer questions that are relevant to their expertise.
Sure. Just be aware when you say Eric, we have a couple Erics here. So
Eric Gath, who I believe is now pictured.
that's fine. Before we get going on that, I got a question for Eric Torog. So Eric, you hearing me?
Yes.
Yes. So looking at some overheads, it appears that what I assumed, which has a chain across it as the private driveway that runs along the building onto Arch Street, is actually a town street, Grove Street, it says. Any?
The access way next to the building is not, it's just a private driveway, but it does lead up to Grove Street that connects to Wells Street.
Okay, I think it's one of those phantom things. That's fine. All right, so Mr. Gath, go ahead.
How's everybody doing today?
Go.
My name is Eric Gath, BLW Engineers. We do mechanical, electrical, plumbing, and fire protection engineering. We've designed approximately 30 cultivation facilities in New England, and we'll be doing the MEP design for 15 Arch. I'll just start by giving you a brief overview of what we're planning for the site utilities. There will be a new electrical service being brought into the building, 2,000 amps. We're trying to reuse the existing water and sewer, reusing the existing gas, reusing the existing sprinklers. So as far as utilities, not a ton of work being done. For the HVAC systems, we'll have some condensing units out in front of the building, sitting on equipment pads. And that's pretty much it for utilities. We've done an odor mitigation plan that I'm happy to share with you to reduce any odors being produced by the facility, and a site lighting plan as well. And I'm happy to go over that if you wish.
Yeah, we looked at the site, the lighting plan seems fine. So the lighting plan only shows one new light pole. Is that correct?
I believe that is correct.
Okay. All right. Let me ask a question before you go on. You might not be the one to ask, but from what I see on the master plans, so you're going to bring the building back, I think of the right word, but anyways, so you're going to repair all the broken windows and so forth, but you're not taking out any bearing walls, correct?
I would definitely defer to somebody else on the team for those questions.
Okay, all right. So go ahead, continue with whatever you want to.
Mr. Chair, I have a question.
Who's that?
Peter Wozniak.
Where you are, Peter. Yeah, see you. Go ahead.
On the site, you indicated for site utilities, there's going to be a new electrical service, a transformer. I see in some of the information you submitted a standby generator, and I didn't see that on a site plan. Where is that located, or is one being provided?
I believe we're going to put it on the roof.
Okay.
That's a requirement for the security plan. We need at least enough generated power to keep the cameras running in the case of a power outage.
And that's going to be gas fed, natural gas?
Yes. Yeah, it'll be natural gas. It'll be a small generator, like John said, just enough to keep the cameras running, and in some, minimal amount of power to keep the veg plants alive and, keep the necessities running.
Okay.
It'll be a smaller, like 20 kW residential size generator.
I think before we move on, Jesse is our architect here. Jesse, I don't believe we're taking out any load-bearing walls, are we?
That is correct.
Thank you.
Oh, there's Jesse. Okay.
Hi, how are you?
We're all spiffy. We're about yay high, but that's all right.
Yeah, it's okay. So to answer your questions, we are not taking out anything structural on the inside of the building. And for the exterior of the building, it's really intended to be cleaned up and repaired, repointing brick, infilling some of the broken windows with a decorative board and batten, which you can kind of see in that rendering that we provided, and installing a new ADA, Massachusetts Access Board compliant ramp up to the main entry door, and just sort of rebuilding the existing loading dock area. It's really not about making changes, but trying to restore some of the historic character with selective renovations.
Yeah, no, that's great, because it is a historic building. And,
absolutely,
that's fine. So didn't mean to interrupt your flow here. So keep going. Whichever of the team you want to weigh in next, go ahead.
I just gave a brief overview of the MEP FP. I'm happy to turn it over to the rest of the team, and then you guys, if you want to ask me questions later, by all means.
Why don't we have Tony? Why don't you give a brief overview of what's being done to the exterior with the site plan there?
Oh, there's
Sure. Thank you. Good evening, everyone. The property is 2 acres in size, and there's 2 access. You can, as you were talking previously, you can access the site on the north side, opposite Grove Street at Wells, and where we think most of our employees will come up is the driveway on Arch. And that driveway is steeper, getting up to the flat portion up by the entry where it is today. And so we're going to pave that driveway up to the flatter portion, up to where the existing loading dock is. And we're also going to put a berm in from that lower access door on the southwest corner up to the loading dock for drainage purposes. And behind that berm up to the building, we'll have a stone surface in between where the equipment pads are and so forth. In the parking area, there is an existing light pole and power pole which feeds the building. We're going to go underground and go to a new transformer, which is right in the angle point of the building, and that's kind of the demarcation of what our lease area is. And there'll be one new light pole up in the corner next to an existing door, and otherwise the remaining lighting, as you look at that photometric plan, are wall packs off the side for security purposes. The existing loading dock will be removed and a new dock and ramping. Well, it's a ramping area because the existing access into the building, if you look at the floor plan, that's going to change. That's going to be closed off, and we'll have access for loading. And then on the opposite side of that is our main entry into the facility. There'll be the existing door on the southwest corner below the fire escape that will be locked and secured, but that will provide access to emergency staff if they need to get into inspect or to review the fire sprinkler area. As Eric was saying, Arch Street has been repaved, the new sidewalk. Our improvements will go to the back of the walk for the driveway, and we hope to utilize the existing services for water and sewer off of Arch Street. And they're shown on the existing plan. We gathered all of that information from site reconnaissance and also working with Alan in the DPW to obtain sewer and water cards from them.
Yep.
The existing area up on top, if you've driven up in there's where the existing loading dock is you come off of Arch Street, and I'm sure the truck's backed up to that dock. It's at a slight angle, and there's a pretty good grade there. We're just going to turn that grade and go parallel to the building, so that little slope will be removed there. And the area up on top, which is broken pavement and gravel, we'll be adding some gravel to square that off and fill in low spots for the time being. There's room for 4 parking spaces, and there's a new dumpster pad that will be poured for our dumpster. That dumpster will be locked. That's a requirement from the police. And also we'll be installing a small amount of fence with a 12-foot swing gate and also a man gate. We anticipate all of our loading and unloading will be by just a normal van. So they'll pull in from Arch Street back into that little fenced off area, which will give them access to the loading ramp, and then just pull out that way, and then they can drive up and get onto Wells Street. In our documents, we anticipate 6 employees would be hired for the start of the business. So the four parking spaces meets the requirements for that. We're also providing a bike rack there if employees are transporting to work via bicycle. There are provisions with my client and the landlord, as the business grows, we could be as much as 15 employees, and there'll be additional provisions for parking on the property outside of the lease here. There's plenty of parking on the north side of the site adjacent to the building. And I think we talked about hours of operation. We're well within the 7 to 10 p.m. requirements in the code. I think our anticipating is 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. Sometimes there might be some additional extensions, but well within the requirements of the zoning ordinance. And I think that is it. The trees should, we anticipate all of those trees as they are should remain. There's no need to do anything there. We're essentially, except for the little bit of additional gravel up on the west end, there really should be no grading outside of that, and all within the existing disturbed or altered area that was used for the old tool factory back in the 1900s. I think the building was around 1900 when it was constructed, according to the cards. And it was also, like, I believe GCC was in there at some point.
Yeah.
So it's nice for it to be, at least some of it to be revitalized and brought back to use. So that's my brief overview of the site improvements.
All right, don't go anywhere.
No.
So, Tony, question. The berm, where is the berm exactly? Does the berm run along the property line with the next?
No, it actually, the berm is going to run along parallel to the building, about 4 or 5 feet off the building.
Okay.
Try to keep a 20-foot wide driveway,
Right.
so 2 cars can pass, because the landlord will have access through from Grove to Arch Street, and likewise. So it's just there, as you can see, the grading, the proposed grading, everything pushes that way. Everything wants to go to the underpass at Arch Street.
Which, that's fine until it rains. That's fine. So everybody's talking about reusing the existing utilities. Do you know for a fact that they're in good enough shape to reuse, or you just?
We haven't TV'd or any of that. I mean, the water line will be tested. Our hopes are to be able to do it, because we wouldn't want to have to go back into the street because it's brand new. But the pipes inside, they look pretty good. I've walked in the basement with Dan, one of the owner, one of the
Partners.
Applicants. Yeah. So, there's an older, there'll be some work, but that we think that will be just mainly in the driveway. There's an old post indicator valve right at the entrance on the south, which will have to go and have to be upgraded. But I'm hoping it all be done within the driveway, and so we don't get into the new improvements.
Right. You mentioned the dumpster being locked. Has anybody contemplated enclosing the dumpster within a fenced-in area?
Well, it's tight up in there. So, we had conversations with the planning board. We could obviously do that, but it's pretty set back from everywhere. I don't think you'll really be able to see it. And I think the police department was fine with just with having a locking, arm on the top and locking it.
So when Tony and I were, when we and Tony were working on the site plan, it is a little bit tight up there in terms of getting a van, able to pull in and back into the gated area. So we did reach out to the chief of police, and he said as long as we were, okay with the CCC security requirements, and as long as it was locked up, that was fine. He didn't see any need for it to be fenced in.
Yeah, he's not the one granting the permit. So.
I understand. I just want to let you know that we did speak to him about it.
I don't believe we've granted a permit yet, which we haven't done it. So there's not enough room for you to have the dumpster in the enclosed area, correct?
No, I think we could. We could enclose it if we needed to. It's just with conversations and it being set back. Usually we screen them so that they're not seen from the public way. That's essentially it.
But you're figuring you're far enough back that that's
Yes.
not an issue.
Yeah, and it's right in front of a garage that the landlord has. I'm not sure if the board had a chance to get up there, but the landlord has a garage that's just to the north of where that is.
Yep.
And so we could do it. It just, with conversations with the police, it was just decided not to put that in our application. That's all.
Okay, that's fine. Speaking of fencing, planning board suggested it, planning department suggested it. Some sort of screening, doesn't have to be fenced, along the boundary line with the westerly residential neighbor. Would that be an issue for you all? And John, feel free to jump in here.
No, that's fine. That is something we discussed with the planning board and the planning department last week. It's not something that we would object to. Right now, it's not something that we had planned for. We did discuss fencing or a hedge along that wall. And it was seen to be a little bit extra burdensome from our standpoint in terms of the width of the driveway. We'd have to install the fence into the existing concrete barrier because there's not enough room really on the outside of the wall and then between us and the neighbor's property to install any type of vegetative fencing or hedging or screen.
How much room is there?
Well, it varies a little bit. It gets a little narrower up at the north side. If you look at the existing condition, you can see the approximate location of the property line adjacent to that existing concrete retaining wall, which just sticks up.
Yep.
I'm saying a retaining wall because it doesn't look like a curb. You know, it's a poured in place thing. And so there was discussion of putting a fence. I mean, we do have room where we could have put a fence, but I don't know below grade. We didn't dig up to see how that is. You could probably core and put a fence on top of that wall. There was discussions of vegetation. I didn't think there was enough room to plant vegetation from the property line to the thing. There's to the retaining area, the concrete wall. There is an existing hedge though on our abutters property, and if they did have a concern, I mean, obviously, maybe we could extend that hedgerow on their property if they were okay with it but I wouldn't take it all the way down to the corner because you don't want to restrict, sight distance for vehicles pulling in and out. So those are the options.
Yeah, that's fine. While we're on the subject, so John, I think you said, I know Tony said, so deliveries, essentially, they're not that frequent and they don't have to be that large vehicles, correct?
Yes, we will have deliveries of nutrients, which come in either large bags or barrels on pallets, things like that. And then whatever's being picked up is something that a person could carry by hand, essentially.
All right. So if there was a condition, box truck or smaller, that would be all right with you all.
Oh yes, absolutely. I don't think anything larger than that can get up there anyway.
Well, there's that.
With the exception, I might say of construction when the equipment comes in, some of that that equipment will need to be lifted to the roof and on the pads. That might come in on a larger truck. That's
Tony,
anything outside of operations that would
Tony,
be okay.
It's us. It's us. We know that. It's fine.
Okay.
We're not worried about construction. We're worried about once operations are underway and everything, and that's fine. We just wanted to make sure that we understood. Tony, did you have anything else you wanted to?
No, I think that's it. Unless you have questions.
I'm gonna go down. I'm gonna go down the board right now and see if anybody has any questions for you or for what Mr. Haddon has said, or for what the other Eric Gath has said. So we'll do a board question period right now. Jim, anything from you?
No, I don't. I got some correspondence we got to read after.
Yeah, but let's get through this first. Peter, where's Peter? There's Peter. You're muted. You got to unmute. Can you unmute? Can we unmute?
Couple questions. Where are the air handlers located? Are they on the roof or in the building?
We are. Go ahead, Eric.
Do you want me to speak? Okay. So we're utilizing a split system type HVAC system. We'll have condensing units outside with refrigerant piping running into the building, and all the air handling units will be located inside of the grow rooms and the processing rooms.
Those compressor condenser units that are outside, how noisy are they?
They're actually pretty quiet. We're probably going to be using a VRF style system, which is variable refrigerant volume, and that's it's basically a Mitsubishi system that you'd see in a residence. They're very quiet. They ramp up and down based on the capacity required, but it's typical to a residence, what you'd see in a residence.
Now, does the odor control equipment provide ventilation? I mean, it's treating the exhaust, but what's being provided for ventilation?
So there is required ventilation. We'll be bringing fresh air into some of the rooms, not the plant rooms, but other processing rooms. And then obviously there's exhaust required out of the bathrooms and some other rooms. So all of that, well, I'll kind of give you a brief overview of our odor mitigation approach. What we do is we try to keep the building at a neutral pressure to a slight negative. And what that does is prevents any of those odors from escaping out of the building without getting treated by some means. So, and then basically everything being exhausted from the building runs through carbon filtration, which is a proven effective means of odor reduction. And then also we use a Hvac system, which is injecting essential oils into the airstream, and that counteracts all of the odors from the marijuana. And that using that multifaceted approach is we're very confident that it will be effective.
Is there a standard for acceptance that the Cannabis Control Commission requires of exhaust smells?
We are of helped with the design in many of these facilities, and this approach is proven above and beyond what other facilities are doing in Massachusetts.
The actual technical CCC requirement is to not be a nuisance as defined by state law.
Okay. I noticed in the submittal there were some noise curves. Are those, noise curves that are measuring or setting the standard for air going out of the building and impacting possibly a neighbor?
Sound?
Yeah, there's sound curves that are in there. Sound pressure curves.
We included, I've been involved in many of these meetings, and that's typical. A lot of times we do see a request for noise, and what we produce those just to be proactive, to show that those condensing units are not very noisy, and then the generator that we're using is more of a residential style in comparison to other more industrial type equipment that could be a nuisance. We don't foresee this being an issue.
Okay. Anything else, Peter?
Yeah, one more question. You're putting a standby generator up on the roof. My suggestion is that you don't there's routine testing or once a month or once a week, that should only be done during the normal work hours, not nights and not weekends.
Perfectly fine, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we can make that a condition too, if the board's so inclined. So, Peter, you good?
Yep.
Okay. David Singer, please, if you have it.
I do. Just to be clear, so I have, it's the building that sits to the right of that driveway as you drive into it. I know the driveway's in tough shape right now. I did not drive all the way up. How many stories are you leasing? The whole building?
So when you drive up the driveway, no, not the whole building. We have the first floor that's level with the upper level, and then the basement area that's below it, that's sort of exposed to Arch Street. We're leasing just over 10,000 gross square feet. Our tier 1 cultivation license allows 5,000 square feet of canopy. So that's defined as mature plants that are taller than 8 inches. And that's how we're capped by the state in terms of how much we produce. And tier 1 is the smallest license, excluding micro business license, but of the tiers is the smallest tier. And we have an option to potentially expand in the future. We have a right of first refusal for another 4,000 gross square feet, which would allow us possibly another 2,000 or a little bit more than 2,000 square feet of canopy, which would put us into the tier 2 license. But that would be the most that we could actually do is about 7,000 square feet. Tier 2 goes up to 10,000 square feet. But that's only allowed if the CCC, if you sell out at a tier 1 level, if you grow the most you can and sell all of your product for a certain amount of time. And in the basement, we have storage, essentially. We're going to put some security apparatus and other types of sort of industrial equipment down there, and storage for dry goods and things like that.
There is a preliminary floor plan. There's a preliminary floor plan of the main floor and also the basement within the submittal documents, giving you an idea of how the operation is laid out. So,
okay, thank you.
This is Jesse Moberg. If you'd like a quick overview, just let me know and I can run through it for you.
Yeah, but why don't we let David get through his questions and then we can talk about that.
No, that's okay. That's all good. It was hard for me. I saw the big building and looking at the plan from 10,000 feet, it was hard for me to see this odor mitigation plan, which I think is probably something that the neighbors might be concerned about. And I understand and I hear what you're saying and it sounds great. Is this in writing in your submittals? Is this something that we could refer to in our special permit conditions? Is there something out there besides just the verbal expression of what's going to happen?
Yes, I produced an 8-page narrative. It describes what we're doing. It has cut sheets, and it also has support of different case studies for each technology with backup on how effective it is.
Is that included in, does the town have that?
I believe so.
Yes, you do. It's in the booklet that was supplied with the application. You'll see that you should have a tab that actually identifies the section of odor mitigation.
I actually don't have a booklet. I don't know why, but I don't. So
if Eric Torah can bring it up, you could see it. He probably has access to the documents in PDF format.
I just want to make sure I'm being more general in my question because I thought that the verbal description was excellent. So I'm on to how you do it. Just want to make sure when we cite conditions that there's some place that in the application that we could cite to hold the conditions firm. That's all. But that's why I asked. But very well presented. I just I know what it feels like to be on the other side. So very well presented. And one more question for Eric. Eric, in the special permitting requirements, there's a list of things. One of it the chief of police has to approve, and I heard in the beginning that was done. Have all these conditions otherwise been met for our satisfaction? Do we need to go through this list with the applicant of A to G under special permit requirements? For example, proof that the application is deemed complete. I did hear the owners' names, where you're all from. I assume you're maybe an entity that's not just individuals, but you are the owners of the entity. And then you have a preliminary license. You said some sort of preliminary permission.
Yes, it's a provisional license.
And the provisional means what? You have to build the site. You have to get a site to fix it.
Right. So the Cannabis Control Commission takes an application from us, reviews it, and then grants us a provisional license, which means we can start the steps towards creating our facility. And then once it's fully built, they'll come back and do a final inspection after we get our occupancy certificate and everything else is all in place. The CCC comes back and does a final inspection. At that point in time, would grant us a final license, and then we can bring product into the facility and begin to operate.
Okay, thank you. All right, thank you, Mr. Chair.
Yeah, the provisional license happens until as what Mr. Haddon just said. And in addition, the CCC wants to see any special permits from us. So they have to get the special permits from us before they can apply for a permanent license.
We're a dot.
I'm sorry.
We're a dot along the trail. Yep.
Right.
The special permit.
Right. Yes. Right. Eric Torog, because we have to distinguish between our Erics tonight. Do you have a copy of the odor mitigation plan that Eric Gath, forgive me if I get it wrong, but is talking about?
No, you get it right.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, and it was emailed to you today, so you all have a copy of it.
Okay, we will look for it while we go on to Debbie Jokes, I think. So, Debbie Jokes?
Yes, I just was unmuting myself. I did get Eric's email in regards to that, so I was able to look really quickly at the plan in regards to the odor mitigation. I do have a couple of questions. How long is your lease with your landlords?
Our lease has a 7-year term, and it has an option to renew as well.
Okay.
And I did see from the planning board that they had talked about parking. I understand you were looking at 4 spaces to start, but as you have more employees, you would obviously need more parking. And then they had made a comment about possibly having that parking done earlier rather than later. Have you guys had a chance to look at that or have a plan for that additional parking?
Well, so we have permission from the landlord to use his space. Our lease allows us space in the driveway coming up from Arch Street, and then that flat area sort of in the corner of the building there. But as you know, there's no barrier between the Grove Street that comes off of Wells and the driveway that goes down to Arch. So that large open area in the back, we do have permission to use that as parking. It would not be improved, and unfortunately, it's not our responsibility to improve it. So, if we wanted to create a paved area there with parking spaces, we would have to work that out with the landlord and have the landlord do it. But as of right now, for people who needed to park and would need an additional space to park, we do have permission in the north part of the lot there to park. So.
Okay, thank you. I don't have any additional questions.
Okay. While we're still on the subject, but you would only need that extra parking space if you expanded the operation, correct?
We may have somewhere between 10 to 15 employees once we become sort of fully up and running.
But would they all be working at the same time?
Not necessarily, no. And we also have, the intention to and the stated obligation to the Cannabis Control Commission to hire half of our workforce from Greenfield. So hopefully many of them will be biking. I know one of our partners is already planning on using the bike rack instead of a parking spot. So,
Right.
So we're not expecting it to be an issue. If it does become one at some point, then we'll have to address it at that point. There's room for about maybe 10 cars back in the northern part of the property. So we don't expect it ever to be an issue.
Percentage-wise, of the entire complex, what percentage would you say, you can be rough, is the leased area?
1/4. So the entire building's about 40,000 square feet, and we have about 10.
Okay, all right, that's fine. Okay, so if that's questions from the board for the moment, why don't we read?
Mr. Chair, this is Peter Wozniak.
Yeah,
I have one more question. I noticed under the provisional license, there's a requirement for an operating procedure to be developed. I think it's in section 4. What is the plan for preventive maintenance of the odor control system? Is there a manual or kind of a periodic checks or changes that need to be done?
What I will do is I will get the manufacturer in touch with John and his team, and they can go over different maintenance programs so that they could either basically hire the manufacturer of this equipment, and they'll basically come out and make checks. Carbon filtration can be changed out anywhere from 3 months to 2 years, and its effectiveness all depends on what's passing through. So we can make basically I'll introduce the vendor to the team, and they can make a decision to utilize that option.
Does the odor control equipment run continuously?
Yes. So the exhaust fans and ventilation fans will run continuously. Carbon filtration is not powered. That's just in line. So anything that passes through that will constantly be filtered. And then the same thing with the Hvac system. As soon as they purchase that Hvac system, they'll have a contract with the Hvac manufacturer to basically replace those oils whenever it runs out.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Before we read some correspondence, I have a question for Jesse Moberg. How do you say it?
That's correct. Yes.
Okay. So I assume that in your renovations for the outside, you'll be getting rid of the graffiti or trying to, and that kind of thing. You said repointing the bricks, replacing broken windows and such.
Correct.
Okay. So that's your responsibility. I mean, the project's responsibility. And yeah, that's it for now. I just want to make sure I had that right. Okay. So, Jim Wynn, you feel like reading some correspondence?
I'm ready.
Okay. Go ahead, please.
Give me a second.
Yeah.
Okay, this is from Eric Torward, Director of Planning and Development. Recommendation: if the board is inclined to approve the application, then the Department of Planning and Development recommends the following conditions of approval. Number one, the applicant shall provide screening along the eastern and northern property lines of 19 Arch Street, acceptable to the owners of 19 Arch Street. Delivery vehicles shall be limited to box trucks or smaller. Tractor trailers shall be prohibited. Zoning district: the above referenced parcel is located within the general industrial GI zone district. Properties to the north are also zoned as GI. Properties to the west are zoned as GI and semi-residential. Properties to the south are zoned central commercial CC, and properties to the east are zoned urban residential. Use: the proposed use marijuana cultivator is a use allowed by special permit with site plan and review and approval from the Zoning Board of Appeals within the GI district. The applicant has received a provisional license from the Cannabis Control Commission for a Tier 1 marijuana cultivation facility, which allows up to 5,000 square feet of canopy. Host community agreement, community outreach meeting. The City of Greenfield, through the Mayor's Office, has entered into a host community agreement with 15 Arch Street, LLC, dated December 30th, 2018. The proposed project proponents held at the required community outreach meeting on February 12, 2019. Required buffer: to determine conformance with section 200-7.17 of the zoning ordinance and the Board of Health regulations related to marijuana establishment, a distance measured to the nearest K-12 public-private school was done using the city's Geographic Information System, GIS. No K-12 public-private schools are located within 250 or 500 feet of the subject property. No churches are located within 300 feet of the property. Security plan: required letter from Police Chief Robert Hay was included in the applicant material stating that he has reviewed and is okayed with the security plan. Site access parking: the site has primary access from Arch Street with secondary access via Grove Street to Wells Street. The following off-street parking requirements apply to the use of marijuana cultivators: 3/4 space for each employee on the 2 second large shifts combined. The project is expected that at the beginning there will be 6 employees working at the facility requiring 4 off-street parking spaces. It is estimated that a full operation therefore could be as many as 15 employees, requiring 10 off-street parking spaces. The site plan shows 4 proposed off-street parking spaces. The board should require an off-street parking at full build-out. The lease agreement states that the lease includes 7,700 square feet on the first floor and 1,500 square feet of the basement level with room for future expansion. Hours of operation. The applicant has proposed the following hours of operation: 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. The days of the week are not indicated. Setbacks. The proposed marijuana cultivation facility directly abuts residential properties to the west, requiring a greater setback of 50 feet for the side yard and rear yards. The existing building to be leased for the marijuana cultivation facility does not meet the front yard or eastern side setback requirements. However, the building abuts the railroad along the east side of the property, so there are no direct abutters except the railroad. The western yard setback requirements is met with the exception of the portion along 19 Arch Street, which is about 30 to 35 feet. It is recommended that screening in the form of a 6-foot-high wooden stockade fence and/or arborvitae be installed planting along this property line. Open space landscaping. The minimum landscape and open space requirements on the current standards of zoning ordinance for the general industry district is 0%. No new landscaping is being proposed. Lighting. A lighting plan has been submitted. The submitted site plan indicates that 1 new utility pole with lighting. The proposed height of the utility pole is 15 feet. Signage. No information on any proposed signage was included in the applicant's material. The following signage is allowed within the general industry GI zone district.
Hey, Jim.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think you can skip the sign, Reg.
Okay. That's it. And then we get down to the, from the planning board, the board has no issues with this request. From the Board of Health, no comments or issue with the proposed project. From the Fire Prevention Officer, no comments or issue with the project. From the Engineering Superintendent, no comments or issues with the project. And we have one handwritten letter that just came in today. And let me just quickly read this. Dear Mark Maloney and Zoning Board of Appeals, we are unable to attend the meeting today. We are near the 15 Arch Street property. We do not object to proposed business. We would be delighted to have
Responsible.
business people and put the building to good use. And I can't quite make out the names.
Yeah. Put that building in productive use and return it to Greenfield's tax base. Yours truly, Carol N. Cohen and David G. Nixon.
Right, handwritten note on yellow legal paper.
Yep, from 174 Wells Street.
That's it.
I think that's it, right? Okay. So I gotta switch screens here for a minute. Is that is it? Okay. That's it for. Yeah. So, Mr. Haddon, anything you want to say about the signage or not?
Yeah, the special permit requirements are that we follow the requirements for the put forth by the CCC. What we intended to do, if you can see from Jesse's rendering, there's the black painted strip on the southern exposure facing Arch Street. We intended to replace that with something just to kind of bring back the old historical look of the building. If anything, we would have maybe a plaque or some sort of number. We were thinking maybe like 18-inch by 18-inch plaque. The CCC regulations talk more about sort of what's allowed and what's not allowed. You can't have any sort of marijuana paraphernalia or slang words like pot or something like that in your signages. So that's not something that we're too worried about. Simply, the 15 Arch address I don't believe actually legitimately exists right now in Greenfield. It's listed on the GIS site as Arch Street. Its parcel is 69-74. It's listed on the deed filed with the Registry of Deeds as 13-15 Arch Street.
Yeah.
So our one of our first orders of business is to create the address, which it may be a little bit confusing to some sort of thing. So that would be the only reason we would need a sign, is that deliveries would be able to find us.
Right. So I think,
but mostly we don't really want people to know we're there.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think that's important for everybody to remember. This is a wholesale business. This is not a retail business. And I think, Mr. Haddon, what I'm hearing you say, matter of fact, I'm pretty darn sure I'm hearing you say that when it comes to signage, you have no interest in putting up any signage that would require a special permit from us.
Quite correct.
I thought so. Okay, that simplifies life. All right, great. The lighting thing is good. The open space, yep, we covered that. The setbacks is something that we're going to need to talk about. This would be, I think that's why Eric Torog's comment about it's recommended screening in the form of a 6-foot high wooden stockade fence on or the mutant, what do we call it? It's not really a retaining wall, as Tony said. It's whatever, the mutant curb, and or arborvitae be installed planted along this property line. So that may be a condition that you would have to come to some sort of understanding or agreement with the abutter. And now, Eric Torog, let me ask you this question before we go to public comment. I assume all the residential, well, all the abutters, but the residential abutters nearest were notified of the hearing, correct?
Correct.
Okay, thank you. And as Jim Wynn said, we don't really have a whole bunch of correspondence, mostly technical stuff for us. You've already indicated you're good with the box truck or smaller. Security plan's good. Okay. I just want to make sure there's not something I'm missing right now. So, Eric, I did not get that. Eric Torog, sorry. I did not get the email today about the emissions, the odor emissions control.
Yeah, neither did I.
No, you all got it. You all got it. It's an email. Wouldn't it just went to one person? So you obviously got it.
No, I'm not saying it. So I think maybe Peter, can you find it? So if somebody finds it while we move on here, that'll probably be helpful when we get to conditions and such. Okay,
Mark, I do have it.
All right. So Deb, can you?
I'll pull it. I'll access and then answer questions.
Yep. So that's great. All right. So if the board is good for right now, and Mr. Haddon, if you're good for right now, and Mr. Gath, if you're good for right now, and I don't really care what Tony is. No, I'm just kidding. No, okay. We've known each other for many years. Then we will open this up to public comment. So just so you know, member of the public who want to comment on this, we need your name and address or place of residence. And these are for comments. This is not really a Q&A. And that's about it. So wave at me and I will, yep, hold on. I got to get a name up there. Okay. So Doug Mayo.
Yes. My wife Ann and I live at 143 Wells Street. And I am familiar with the building in the back. I'm familiar that it was used as Greenfield Community College for a time. I'm familiar that it was used to make specialized equipment during World War II, and that it was an integral building for during that time period. My wife and I have no problem with having this business in the area. We're very glad that this building comes back onto the tax rolls. I'm a city councilor in Precinct 8, so I'm very happy about that. The money coming back onto the rolls. So it gives the town of Greenfield a little bit more to deal with and to be happy about. So we require no fencing because we have bamboo that is plenty fencing for three quarters of the year. So we know we don't need any special fencing or anything of that nature. We're just very pleased that a business is going in there.
Okay. You all set?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, shifting screens. Okay, anybody else from the public with a public comment? I cannot see you if your video is not on. Or you'll just need to kind of bust in here. No? Last, we're going to move along here because we're already behind in the next application, but any other public comments from anyone? Seeing none? No? Positive? Am I missing anything? Any hands up or anything? No? Okay, then public comment section of this application is closed at 8:14 or 8:12, depending on what time it really is. Okay. So, as I said, we need to move on to other stuff here, but I'll give Mr. Haddon or any of your team anything else you want to add that you haven't added or speak to, any comments or anything.
No, thank you.
Okay. Jesse? No? Yes.
Well, I have nothing.
Hey, Jesse, I got a question for you though.
Sure.
There is a, I'm not even sure what you call it, on top of the roof of the building, the narrow building, skylights or whatever.
Cupola.
Cupola, yes.
Thank you. Yeah, it's a long pandemic. I noticed a lot of broken panes up there. So will those get fixed? I assume you don't want holes in the roof. But
correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. So those will get fixed, but they will also likely not be accessible from the inside. So it will stay there, kind of decorative to maintain the integrity. But
yeah, no, that's fine. That's great. Okay. I think that was it for me. All right. Before we move on, so Mr. Haddon, I'll just say we have another application. We have to deal with that next. We're already 45 minutes late for that. We will deal with this tonight. So hang around, you and the group. And when we come back, we will deal with the second application first because it's a fairly straightforward one. And not to say this isn't, but I'm just letting you know.
I understand.
Okay, so members of the board, are there any more questions for we're calling it the 15 Arch Street group right now? We can ask questions later also before we actually go to decision. So is there anybody? Okay, so Mr. Haddon and team, thanks for hanging out. Don't go too far. We'll come back to you. All right, so board, we're moving on to the application of Carl Woodruff and Mia Portablanc for property located at 60 James Street. All right, Jim, do you have the notice of hearing somewhere?
I do. Let me read it.
Hold on, just want to make sure. Are the applicants with us or somebody for the applicants with us?
Yes, this is Carl.
Okay. Are you it, Carl?
Mia is also here.
Okay. Yeah, I see what you're doing. Why is this doing this? I have no idea. Okay, I know my mic is echoing. I don't know. Carl, were you here earlier and heard about how we do this?
I was not.
Okay. Yeah, you know what? I think that's part of the issue. I'm turning my speakers down. I'm trying to turn my speaker down. There we go. Okay, so in a second, the clerk will read the notice of hearing. And once he does that, we'll introduce the board members sitting. You'll introduce yourself. Then you'll tell us what you want to do, where you want to do it, why you want to do it. The board may have questions. Once the board is satisfied with the questions, we will open it up to public comment. Once there is no more public comment, we will get back to the permit. We may ask some questions again. We will decide tonight. And once we've made a decision, the clerk, Mr. Porter, will write it up, type it up, and file it. Will be filed. We all sign it. Will be filed with the town clerk. From the day it's filed with the town clerk, city clerk, there's a 20-day appeal period in which anybody who feels aggrieved by the actions of the board may appeal to land court, superior court. If after the end of the 20-day appeal period there are no appeals or all appeals have been settled, you may go ahead and do what we say you can do. You understand that?
Yes, I do.
Okay, great. Thank you. All right. So, yeah, Jim, go ahead. Read the notice of hearing. I think you're muted.
Okay, let's try this again.
All right.
8:16 p.m. Application to Carl Woodruff and Mia Kortenbond for property located at 70 James Street, Assessors Map 23, Lot 19, which is located in the Urban Residential RA Zoning District for a special permit pursuant to Section 200-5.3E and 2 and 200-8.3 of the zoning ordinance in order to allow a reduction of the front yard setback from 25 feet to 20 feet for construction of a single-family home at this location.
Okay, and the members of the board sitting are Mark Maloney, Jim Wynn, Peter Wozniak, David Singer, Debbie Jilks. Unless if anybody wants to sit this one out, we can let Walter sit. Anybody want to sit? Oh, take it back.
I'll sit out on this one.
Okay, so Walter, you good to where are you? There you are. You good to sit?
Sure.
Okay. Okay, so Carl, go ahead and tell us all about it.
Thank you. So we are in the process of building a single-family home. The site that we're building on presented some particular challenges, namely it's on a steep hill. It's about a 20-foot drop-off over about 25 feet. And in addition, there are some wetlands in the back of the lot. We did go through a conservation approval process before starting. And so we do have an open DEP permit at the moment because of the wetlands. And in short, the issue is that the location of the foundation ended up being a little bit too close to the street. There were some difficulties in locating it due to the steep hill. And consequently, the front of the house, there's a front porch roof that we have intended to build. And as currently located, that front porch roof would be approximately 3 feet over the front setback line of 25 feet off the street. And so we are requesting the special permit to build that front roof as designed with the house, which would put it now about 3 feet over the front setback. I have requested that the setback be reduced to 20 feet, mostly just because from our measurements, we'll be at exactly 3 feet over. And if we add a gutter or a lamp or something, I don't want to have to come back and bother you again.
No bother. We're always happy. So it's the edge, the front edge of the roof that is sticking out into the front yard setback. It's not the actual front wall of the porch, correct?
That's correct. The roof design for the front of the house is a Dutch gable, a one-story Dutch gable, and so it's about a 4-foot roof. The front wall of the house is just about a foot, slightly more back within the setback.
Okay. All right.
So the roof would be at about 9 to 11 feet off the ground.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, someday you'll have to tell me how you got this by the Concom, but that's okay. I was at the site today, had a nice chat with the builders. So I understand the issue very well. I don't actually have any questions about this. Anybody else from the board? Just weigh in. You know what? Let me go down the line here. Jim Wynn, any questions? You're muted.
Negative, but we do have some correspondence we have to read.
Yeah, well, let's go and then we'll come back to that. Peter Wozniak?
No questions.
Okay, thank you. David Singer, any questions?
I do have a question. In the zoning ordinance, it says that the applicant or somebody's going to have to prove to us that within 300 feet of this house, the average setback is less than the 25 feet. Has anything like that been submitted to the board?
I don't believe so.
Mr. Chairman?
Yeah. Eric? Why is he? You got on mute, Eric. There we go.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Okay, great. So the zoning section that David referenced, it talks about an option that would negate someone to come before you for a 20% reduction if properties within 300 feet or all have a reduced front yard setback already. He would not have needed to come before you. So you're not reading that quite correctly, David.
Okay, well, let me weigh in on David's point. I can tell you from my experience today, there are multiple properties, both south and north on that side of the street that encroach well within the 25-foot setback. And as a matter of fact, there's a house whose front wall is about 15 feet off the street, not too far to the north. So
I will actually say that that's my house, and I don't even think it's 15 feet.
yeah, I wasn't thinking of yours. I was thinking of
I'm like 3 houses down from them.
right. No, there's another house on the same side as Mr. Woodruff's, further north. I mean, what I was looking at today was to see where the roof line would be in comparison to, 6 or 8 houses either side. And there were several houses that had similar roof lines intruding into the 25-foot setback. So I felt better having once seen it and understanding the neighborhood. This will not be in my opinion, this will not be out of place or unusual in the neighborhood. So I just wanted to give you that.
Thank you.
Go ahead. You still have the floor.
Thank you. So Eric, what you're saying is that the building inspector can issue a building permit if the reason for the special permit is because the fact that it doesn't meet that criteria, right?
That's correct, because I had Mr. Woodruff look at that as an option of not having to do a special permit, and he did check it out, and he didn't meet that requirement, which is why he's before you now. Not requirement, but he didn't meet those circumstances to negate a special permit.
So the only reason I brought it up was for the record, not to resist the application. I just want to make sure the record is clear that there's been compliance But in reading it again, I see what you say. It's been a long day for me. I just came away from a fire department building meeting for 3.5 hours, so I apologize. Thank you. You answered my question. The applicant did a good job with that. Thank you very much. I'm done.
Okie dokie. And I would just say, I feel your pain. Anyways, Walter.
You weren't even there.
Mr. Chairman, my question is just one of just wondering how these things come about. Mr. Woodruff, were you made aware of the fact that you were encroaching on the required setback by the building inspector, or how did that come about?
We did a plot plan to provide to the bank for the mortgage, and when the surveyor came back and plotted the foundation, it became clear that we were closer than we had planned. And at that time, I asked the surveyor to provide an exact distance from the front foundation wall, which was our measurement point at this point in construction, to the front of the lot. And that's when we discovered that we were going to end up at about 22.5 feet off of the front lot line.
Okay, no further questions.
Okay, thank you, Walter. So so it was through the mortgage process you discovered you were out of compliance. And, these things happen. I also, in speaking to the builders, anyways, sometimes these things just happen. Mr. Woodruff, since we don't really have a rendering of the finished building, what's the square footage going to be when it's all done? Just curious.
The finished and conditioned space will be about 1,600 square feet. There's also a space underneath the house that will be unfinished, unconditioned, and actually open to the air. That basically brings that first floor up to street level so that we can make it accessible. That's about 450 square feet.
Oh, okay. Jim Wynn, you want to read some correspondence?
I do. To the ZBA from the planning board, no issues with this request. From engineer and superintendent to the ZBA, no comments or issues with the proposed project. And from the fire prevention officer to ZBA, no comments or issues with the proposed project.
Okie doke. All right, thank you. Any members of the public want to make a public comment on this? I think everybody is not here for this. Going once, twice, public comment for 60 James Street. Anyone? Seeing no hands, seeing no chat, seeing nothing, then we're going to close the public comment at 8:30 p.m. Any further questions from the members of the board on the application for 60 James Street? Wave at me if you do. Walter still with us?
I'm here.
Okay, thank you.
I'm just standing up.
Mr. Woodruff, do you have anything else you want to add?
Just that we do have a 3D model and some photos that I'd be happy to share via screen share if anybody felt that was necessary.
I don't, just because I put that. Anybody else need that, or can we just deal with this?
No, I took a ride down there and took a look too.
Okay. Oh, did we lose David? No, he's still there. Okay. So why don't we go ahead and have, if we're all good, does anyone feel the need for further discussion on this application?
No.
Okay, thank you. All right, I'm going to assume we're all good with that then. All right, so can we get somebody to make a motion, please?
Yes, I'll make a motion for approval for the application of Carl Woodruff and Mia Corblain for the property located at 60 James Street, Assessors Map 23, Lot 19, which is located in the urban residential zoning district for a special permit pursuant to sections 200-5.3E2 and 200-8.3 of the zoning ordinance in order to allow a reduction of front yard setback from 25 feet to 20 feet for construction of a family home located at this location.
Second.
Who seconded?
Jim Wood.
Second.
Jim. Okay, thank you, Jim. All right, motion's been made and seconded. Is there need for further discussion? Seeing none. All those, right. Right. Got to do a roll call vote. Jim Nguyen.
Yes.
Peter Wozniak. Was that a yes?
Yes.
Thank you. David Singer.
Yes.
Walter Boyd.
Yes.
Okay, and Mark Maloney makes 5. Motion carries and is declared unanimous. So, Mr. Woodruff, get together with Eric at some point next week, and we should have this signed and get you started on your process.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. I don't know why this stupid machine is doing this. But okay, so let's go back to 15 Arch Street, please. Okay, and let me just bring up something here on my other screen. And that is not that. That is the wrong one. Okay. Let me. I hate it. Make it. Here we go. I think. Yep. Okay. So, do any members of the board have any further questions for clarification for Mr. Haddon and his team?
No.
David says no. David says no. Jim?
No.
Peter?
Nope.
Okay. Mr. Haddon, anything else you want to add that we've missed?
No, sir.
Okay. Deb, did you take a look at the emission odor control plan?
I did, and actually, my apologies. I had downloaded everything I had gotten from Eric on this. It looks like the package that I have came in earlier than today.
Okay.
And perhaps I'm looking at the wrong one, but inside of that document, it does show, I think it was Clamfill or Climefill. I'm just trying to get to that page right now.
Where's Mr. Gaff?
In here?
Because I looked it up online to kind of get some information on it.
So what was it called?
I'm trying to get to the exact name. Moment.
The cam fill is what I referred to as the carbon filtration.
Yeah.
Right, and then after that, there's another one, and that name's good.
Sorry, Benzico Scientific.
Yes.
That is the producer of the Hvac system that I was describing. It talks about basically the fogging system or essential oils that are injected to the airstream. So that is accompanied with a case study from the St. Croix Sensory Inc.
Correct. Yep.
There should be a letter in front of all of that from Eric describing that, those individual components for the odor mitigation.
Yeah, I do have it. It looks like from BLW Engineers is a letter dated December 14th. It goes through odor mitigation. It has the brochure for Camfill. It looks like they make the filtration system for the cannabis facilities. In addition to that, it shows, just some of the products that they offer. Then we get into the Benzico Scientific. And I know I saw a letter in here as well. And then there's a letter from St. Croix Sensory.
When did you get this stuff?
I got this stuff, I think it was January 8th, one moment.
Yeah, about a week ago.
Okay. Oh, wait a minute. I wonder if this is it.
It came in with all the documentation it's called 12-15-20 submittal. It came in with the request for the continuance and
With
the
this-
review comments.
Okay. Did it come in with the SVE stuff?
That's the SVE stuff is the submittal.
Yeah. Okay. Hold on.
And
The only reason we're not stuck on this, but I just want to make sure this is a concern to some of the board members. So we want to make sure that.
yeah, if you open that PDF and if you want to jump to about page 73, 74, that's where all of this, the 8 pages they said they submitted starts.
Okay. Okay. I
I
get
think it's 72.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So, Mr. Gath, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So, let's talk a little bit. What's going to keep? And no, you don't have to talk to me like I'm an 8-year-old, but it might help. So what's going to keep the odors from the growing from flooding the neighborhood?
So a combination of things. Number one, maintain a slight negative pressure or neutral pressure in the building. We strategically pressurize the building in different rooms to prevent any odors from escaping the building. So essentially, the only air leaving the building is exhausted, and all of the air that gets exhausted is treated 2 ways. One is by passing through that carbon filter. The cam fill is the manufacturer of that carbon filter. That's the data accompanying that that narrative.
Yep.
And then the second means of treatment is that Benzico Scientific, which is now, well, we purchased it through Fogco. And that is essentially injecting essential oils into the airstream, which counteracts all of the odors produced by the marijuana.
Yep. Yeah, I'm looking at it now. Yeah, I completely missed that. I assumed you already had it under control, so we don't need the sales brochures from them. Phil, okay. And so not essentially, but you guys submitted all this. You submitted your odor control plan to the CCC, and you are in compliance with the MGL on that. Yes.
Yes, part of our CCC application was the operating procedures.
Okay.
To which odor control was a factor.
Yeah, I'm looking at.
I will add to that. Part of the architectural review, which goes through the CCC, requires an energy compliance narrative, which also consists of an odor control measures, and we actually don't need to get in this depth, but it will be submitted as part of that review as well.
Right.
And it's been approved by many other facilities.
All right. And somebody had asked previously about noise mitigation, but it doesn't sound like that's going to be a huge issue for you guys. It's pretty quiet operation.
Yeah, the larger facilities have really giant air handlers and HVAC units. Weigh 600 tons.
Yep.
So we're not going to be anywhere near that capacity.
Right. So the Kohler industrial generator is going on the roof. If I remember what you said before.
Yeah. So other facilities that we've designed have large industrial scale chillers and 1.5, 2 megawatt generators that require sound enclosures and fencing. We don't have any of that type of equipment. It's more of a residential scale, light commercial generator, and the same thing for the HVAC system, which we don't see becoming a factor or a nuisance to any of the abutters or neighbors.
No. So the HVAC system is essentially mini splits, right?
Exactly.
No, my neighbor just had some put in. Okay, that satisfies my questions on that, I think.
Mr. Chair, can I circle back on those operating procedures that you brought before the CCC? Was preventive maintenance part of that?
It was not, because we haven't selected a vendor. The preventative, like Eric was saying, when we install the actual equipment, when we've purchased it from whoever we are going to purchase it from, they would be providing the maintenance procedures for those pieces of equipment.
So
I mean, I don't mean to harp on it, but this is going to be operating 24 hours a day constantly. So that equipment is going to require, constant, or not constant, but very good maintenance to maintain proper odor control.
Certainly.
So we can make a condition that preventative maintenance needs to happen once a month or something. Peter, if that
Yeah, as long as the manufacturer is involved in making the recommendations on how to take care of it, that's fine.
Right.
Unfortunately,
So when we get to it, make a condition that the manufacturer's maintenance recommendations have to be followed, and including the frequency.
Certainly. Yeah, we have no objections to that.
Yeah. A question we all forgot to ask. So 8 to 7 seems to be good hours of operation. What about days of the week?
Well, I would let my business partner, who knows more about it, speak to that. But I think Dan, can you answer that a little bit, or?
Hi, how's it going? We'll be there 7 days a week. I foresee the weekend being a lot less hours. Most of the labor and tending will happen on a Monday through Friday. But we unfortunately we're growing plants, so they need to be on a daily basis.
Yep.
So we can't really skip a day.
No. And again, you have an advantage because this is a wholesale operation, not a retail. Okay. Oh yeah. That's good for me. I'm going to go down the board here. Jim, you have any other questions?
Okay, no, I don't have any questions. It's good to see the building put back to use. I can remember going there to GCC in 1969. It was a long walk from Federal Street.
Yeah.
And it was in bad condition back then.
Yeah. All right. Okay. Thank you. Peter, any other questions?
no additional questions.
Okay. Thank you. David Singer?
No additional questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Debbie Joe?
No additional questions. Thank you.
Okay. So final chance to say something else, Mr. Haddon. Anything?
No, thank you.
Okay. Then we're moving on. Okay. We're closing the application. This is the discussion and decision on the application of 15 Art Street LLC, the property located at 15 Art Street, Assessor's Map 69, Lot 74, for a special permit pursuant to everything in order to allow marijuana wholesale cultivator business at this location. I'm going to use my prerogative. I'll go first because this thing is wonky. I think the submittal is good. I think the information is thorough. I think the conditions that Eric Twarog suggested make good sense. Hold on here. I got to get those back. Okay. I think because of it eating into the setback, that the fencing or other screening becomes an issue. But I think we can deal with that effectively by making a condition. If the neighbors don't care, well, fine. If they're good with it, fine. But there needs to be a consensus about that. My concerns with the noise and the odors have been addressed. The hours of operation, I think, are great in terms of not asking for too much. The 7-day-a-week thing I get. A little concerned with the parking, but not too much. There's room for additional parking. So to start with, at least, they have enough allotted spaces, and then they have room to expand. The security plan seems okay. Setbacks, I just spoke about. Landscaping signage. Oh, yeah, lighting. Yeah, I think the lighting plan, and thank you for submitting one without our having to ask, is good. The signage, they've already indicated they see no need for signage that would trigger the special permit parameters. They're already going to install a bike rack. The box truck or smaller for deliveries is fine, as far as in my opinion. And that's all I got. So we're going to go down the line. I hope everybody's good with that. Just simplifies. Jim Wynn?
I have no problem with this. I think it'll be good for the neighborhood and it'll fit fine.
Okay. Peter Wozniak.
I'd like to make a recommendation that the routine testing of the generator be performed during the work week, Monday through Friday, during their normal operating hours.
Yeah. Wait till we actually get a motion on the floor, but yeah, that's a good one. Yeah.
And then they provide a set of documented preventive maintenance program from the manufacturer.
Yep. Perfectly reasonable. Okay. You good?
Yes, I'm all set.
All right. Thank you. David Singer, please.
I want to apologize to Eric. He did send me an email a couple of weeks ago, the one that Deb talked about. I did review it once and I just reviewed it again, so I'm up to speed. I would follow your lead, others' leads on the conditions, but I support the project.
Okay. Jokes?
I guess I just have one comment in regards to, I think, what was it, like 19 Arch Street? The concern about the fencing or some type of vegetation. Did we want to put something in there that it's either required or the homeowner, submit something to us that says that they're okay not having that?
Yeah, we can make a condition that essentially says exactly that. So if the property owner, if the abutter doesn't want it or is not needed, fine. They just need to sign something that says, yeah, we're okay with it as is. Hold on, Dave. I think, let's face it, this is GI, but it's GI that hasn't been used really as GI for quite a while. But GI was generally smack plumb next to RA. So, we all need to be a little flexible, and I'm sure the abutters are going to be flexible too. David, yes, you had your finger up. And I thought it was this finger, right?
With fingers. I don't want there to be many misunderstanding. So I don't want to bust the applicant, but if the neighbor moves and the next neighbor wants a fence, then how's this going to solve that problem? How's the current neighbor saying they don't care about a fence going to solve the problem? So either we think there should be a fence with the right for the neighbor to waive that condition per the owner, or there shouldn't be a fence at all. But to say this particular neighbor waives it forever doesn't make sense. So if I would support Deb's thing, which is any neighbor, anyone in that house that waives that issue, then during that term of ownership, the fence is not necessary. But or leave the fence out. But I don't know how you could do it. The first owner. It's really we're protecting the general public, not protecting a single person's point of view.
Yeah, that's a good point.
All right. Well, you got about 60
If
seconds.
I may, Mr. Chairman.
Hold on a second. Who's talking?
Walter.
Okay, hold on, Walter. So, David, you got like a minute to come up with a condition that'll do everything you just talked about. Walter, go ahead.
I was going to suggest that perhaps the condition runs with the land, not with the landowner.
Yeah.
Okay.
We can solve this by making a condition that there has to be a fence 6 feet high and can't intrude into the sight lines at the end of the driveway. So, that's another way to go. We hate to burden the applicant with some more cost, but it'll simplify this in the long run. I don't think, you want to start a business by a condition being dependent upon who owns it that month. But I mean, I'm amenable to. The point is, it was brought up as as we need some kind of condition there. I think David's point is well taken. We need to protect, and Walter, I think that's where you were going too. We need to protect the future occupants as well as the current occupant. And I would just FYI for everybody, keep in mind is the abutters did get notification of the hearings, and we've gotten no. The correspondence we got is what we got, and we had one person speak at the public hearing, who was from the neighborhood. So, just something to think about. All right, so we've talked about that. Does any of the board members have any other comments before we go to make a motion? You can nod, you can wave, you can throw things. I don't really care. Okay. I don't see Jim. Where's Jim? Jim, where are you? Jim. Oh, he's not on camera right now. Maybe taking a break, if you know what I mean. Okay, so here's what I'll do. I'll start. And you all be ready to have your conditions, okay? So I'm going to make a motion, that we grant the application of 15 Arch Street LLC, care of John Haddon, for property located at 15 Arch Street, the Assessor's Map 69, Lot 74. Hold on. Yep. Lot 74, which is located in the General Industry Zoning District for a special permit pursuant to sections 200-4.11, C, 16, 200-7.17, 200-8.3, and 200-8.4 of the zoning ordinance in order to allow marijuana cultivated business at this location with the following conditions. So who wants to start with the conditions? Peter, you start with the conditions.
First condition is to have the operating hours for testing run Monday through Friday from 8 to 7, anytime during that period.
You mean
and the second
testing of the generator?
Yeah, the generator runs. Yeah, testing of the standby generator. Sorry about that.
Okay.
And then the second condition would be to provide a documented preventive maintenance program for the odor control equipment in accordance with manufacturer's recommendations.
Okay, great. Anything
else?
That's it. All right, okay. Did you have any conditions you wanted to add to what Peter just said? Knowing full well that we'll get to the list of Eric Twarog's suggestions in a minute. Jim? Yeah, you're muted again. Yeah, you're muted. There you go. Thank you. No, you're still muted, or your volume's down or something. There you go. Nope, not hearing you. Okay. His mic is out. Isn't this so much fun? COVID meetings. Okay, I'm going to try some conditions here. You all stand by. Delivery vehicles shall be limited to box trucks or smaller. Tractor trailer trucks shall be prohibited. The hours of operation shall be. Peter, did you do that already? No?
No, that's maintenance.
Good.
Okay, so the hours of operation shall be 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. Monday through Friday.
I'm sorry, Monday through Sunday.
Oh, yeah, that's fine. Now, I normally wouldn't let you do that, but.
I was about to jump in and say, I think
my
we
apologies.
said 7 days.
No, it's fine. It's been a long week everywhere. Okay, security plans we already took judicial notice of that. Parking is okay. Hours of operation. We'll get to the setbacks in a minute. The light. Oh, yeah. That the lighting plan conform to what has been submitted. We don't need to talk about the signage. Okay. And that the applicant shall provide screening along the eastern and northern property lines of 19 Arch Street. And that's let me, yeah, I'm going to leave it for there. If somebody wants to modify that, that's fine. All right, so we're hitting yeah, we're hitting the high points here. Okay, so further conditions, please, David.
Sure. If it's I'm going to just take my turn so that you don't have to come back to me. I would like now that I've re-seen them, I'd like the plan and the application to be incorporated into the special permit so that everything is done according to that. So here's what I would suggest is added to the condition of the barrier or the screen. The condition may be waived by the abutter from time to time in whole or in part. So it would be up to the applicant to either get it verbally or so that they would, or if they want to feel more secure, get it in writing but it can be waived. So it would be, I don't think we need to see it unless you think that waiver should be submitted to the Eric Turok. I would ask you that. But I think it should just be general that the abutter from time to time may waive it in whole or in part. So that just means that if the applicant can prove that that's occurred, then there's no enforcement issue.
All right. Okay. Yeah. I think probably to make life easier all around. If it's waived, there needs to be there needs to be something written that goes into the permit file. That's all.
It could be waived in writing by the abutter from time to time, or whole or in part, and delivered to the planning department.
Yeah, that's fine. I'm okay with that. What's the rest of the board feel about that? We good with that? Jim?
Yeah, does that work for you?
Jim, just nod if you're good with that. Okay, thank you. Peter, you good with that?
Okay, with that.
Okay, Deb?
Yeah, I agree. That's a good solution that allows them not to have to put it in if it's not necessary at this time.
Right, and Walter, I saw you nodding, so.
Yeah, I think that's a good requirement because to do it the other way, you're making a requirement on the abutter to accept it all the time, and they may not want it.
Right. No, I think that's fine. There was something niggling here.
Eric Turok, I'll be happy to email you that language if you're not picking it up. Okay.
Thank you.
Give me a second here. David, did you have anything else that we missed that you?
No, thank you very much, Mr. Chair. No.
Okay, so Deb, did you have anything else you wanted to?
No, I was just looking over my notes to make sure. I don't think we're missing anything.
Well, all right. So we do have the setback issue.
Can I help with that?
Yeah, just let me look at this for a minute.
Mr. Chairman, I can also speak on the setback issue.
I'm sure, but I don't process as quickly as I used to. It's recommended. Okay, go ahead. Hold on, Dave. Eric, go ahead.
So the zoning ordinance allows the zoning board through the special permit process to allow existing buildings that don't meet the setbacks to do the business. So they don't have to meet the setback.
Yeah.
I put that in my review comments to show that the screening may be necessary for 19 Arch Street.
Right. No, I think we took care of that. So I think we're okay. Yes. I think we're all in agreement. So David, I think That's not an issue. There was something else that was bugging me about this.
So the setback's not an issue anymore?
No.
Zoning issue? Okay.
Right, because of our making the fencing a condition. Because,
Okay.
so we did that. The setback's no longer an issue. What was my saying? No, well, I'm sure I'll remember about midnight tonight. Anyways, I don't have anything else. Am I missing something? Anybody else see anything we're missing?
Dinner.
What, David? Dinner. Well, that'll teach you. Eat first. Come on, we're early. We've gone at 2 a.m. before. Okay, so there's been a motion that's been made, and conditions, with conditions. I need a second.
Second.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded. Is there further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
You got to roll call it.
Yeah. Okay, it's fine. We'll go down the board. Jim Wynn, wherever you are. I see you nodding. Yes, no, I'm kidding, but I'm assuming he's nodding.
I'm hearing you. Can you hear me?
Oh, yes. Hey.
I had to exit and go back in again.
Okay.
Contact.
Takes time for electricity to travel.
Yeah. So you're an I assume.
Yes.
Okay.
Peter?
Yeah, it's fine. No, I was just thinking of the thing that was bugging me, and it's not a worry. Peter Wozniak.
Aye.
Yeah. Aye. David Singer.
Yes.
Thank you. Debbie Jones.
Oh, aye. Sorry. I answered
Okay.
earlier.
Yeah, I know, it's fine. And I'm an aye. So motion is made and carried, declared unanimous. I think, Mr. John, I think we told you before, call Eric next week. Yeah.
You got it.
Now, anything you do until the permit is cleared is at your own peril. You understand that? Okay. I think that's great. Tony, good to see you as always. Thanks to Eric Goth and everybody, Jesse. And I think that's all we need from you all. So good luck. And best part of this is the building is going to be refurbished and put back.
We look forward to it.
So that's great. All right. Thank you all.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, so for the board members, at this point, we're not sure if we're having a February meeting. We'll know by the middle of next week. If we only have one thing, we may not have a February meeting. So I will get together with Eric next week and we'll figure that out. And we've already done the minutes. So I think we're good. So thank you all for a job well done.
Have a good night.
Have a good night and stay.
Happy New Year, everybody. Good night. Did we adjourn? Did we move to adjourn, by the way?
No.
No, but
Motion to adjourn. Motion to adjourn.
all right.
Seconded.
All right.